2451H. The debate will be on the amendment. Chair recognizes Representative Wheeler. I would just like to remind anybody that is speaking on this that this is a very sensitive and touchy issue, and please make sure your remarks are appropriate. Representative Wheeler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for that reminder. I rise today despite the uncomfortability of this vote because, for me, it comes down to whether or not kids should be able to get these surgeries. And despite the fact that I am a liberal, despite the fact that I believe in non-discrimination for trans people, for gay people, for queer people, and that I will fight until my very last day, until they are recognized as human beings. The question before us is whether or not children under the age of 18 should be able to get these surgeries. And I, despite being a liberal who believes in those human rights, do not think that is the case. And when the question is put before me, and I spoke to people until 11:30 last night, lobbyists, different stakeholders, people with firsthand experience, lived experience, and I've been speaking to people for the last 4 weeks about this bill. The only argument against it being that this opens the amendment specifically opens the door to other bad trans bills. But folks, the slippery slope fallacy I don't think applies here. We're talking about whether or not kids should get these surgeries, and they should not. These are irreversible surgeries. And despite the fact that there are medical exceptions which are included in this amendment, when people have problems with their genitals that need to be addressed, that should be addressed. But when we're talking about whether or not kids should get these surgeries, I think that goes a bridge too far, and I will not be signing on to that. So I will be supporting this amendment, and I appreciate the work done in the Health and Human Services Committee. They worked very diligently, and if you want to watch legislating being done in real time in a really good way, I would recommend that you watch the committee hearings on this bill, the work session on this legislation, because they diligently took all people into account, they took all experiences into account, and they came up with a legislation that protects children under the age of 18. This is not a question of whether or not you're with the trans community. This is a question on whether or not you believe children should be able to get these irreversible surgeries. So again, despite being a Democrat, despite being a liberal who believes in human rights, I don't think that children should be able to get these irreversible surgeries. So I'll take all the heat that comes from this. I will be voting for this amendment and for OTPA if it passes. The bill in its original form I think is too broad, and I won't be voting for OTP, but I will be voting for OTPA if the bill passes and for the amendment if it passes. And I hope all of you on this side of the aisle who definitely believe in human rights, who believe in protecting non-discrimination, would consider the irreversible surgeries that kids are going to be getting if this bill does not pass. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I urge you to join me in supporting this amendment.
Chair recognizes Representative